Flying first class to Hawaii is a dream for many, but what can you expect if you go with the flagship carrier of Hawaii? We recently flew first class on Hawaiian Airlines on the A330, and here's how the experience went. We woke up bright and early for a 7 a.m. departure from Phoenix to Honolulu and made the short drive over from the Hyatt Tempe Mission Palms. We stayed there on a Hyatt free night certificate and received great value as nights were going for well over $400. We had experienced Hawaiian Airlines first class on the A330 before, but this one was special because I had finally found one of those elusive Saver Awards for 40,000 miles one way. I'd been trying to find one of those for a very long time, and one day I just randomly input a date, and on the very first try, there were 2 open seats for 40,000 miles each, so we pretty much booked them immediately. This redemption was made even sweeter by the fact that there was a transfer bonus from American Express to Hawaiian Airlines, which meant that each first-class ticket would only cost 34,000 membership reward points. This transfer bonus is actually pretty common to see, so if you ever want to use Amex points for Hawaiian Airlines, you can usually just wait around for it and you may see it after a few months. By the way, if you want help managing and optimizing your credit cards, be sure to check out our free app, Wallet Flow. It'll help you keep track of your perks and bonus categories and even your eligibility for some of the most rewarding credit cards. But back to the flight. We arrived to what felt like a pretty busy airport so early in the morning, but made our way to the lone first class check-in desk for Hawaiian Airlines.
Level 1, ticketing, baggage claim.
It's still not clear to me what the weight limit is for first class. On our last flight, an agent told me it was 50 pounds, but said that they would let us through with the bag slightly over. Once again, our bag was over 50 pounds and they let us through, so I'm guessing 50 pounds is just a soft limit, but I'm not really sure what the hard limit might actually be. After checking our bag, we made our way through clear and pre-check. One of the clear agents saw Brad take a photo of me while going through clear, which we usually do for the blog, and he asked me if I knew Brad. I thought it was pretty funny and actually thought about saying no just to see what would happen, but I appreciated Clear looking out for me. After screening, it was time to check out the Escape Lounge at Terminal 3, which we received access with via our Platinum card. It's definitely a lounge on the smaller side, but I've come to like it for the most part. The lounge didn't start serving hot food until 8 a.m. though, so we had a pretty limited breakfast selection, but after hanging out for a little bit, it was finally time to head out to the gate, which was only a few minutes away. The main gate agent was way on the enthusiastic side and doing pretty much whatever he could do to get people excited about heading to Hawaii. It definitely was not your typical boring and dry boarding experience, which I appreciated. I think the key to enjoying Hawaiian first class is to have the right expectations. If you've never flown lie flat before, the experience will be such a dramatic upgrade from economy or even premium economy that you'll surely love it. But if you've flown a lot of premium lie flat products, you'll definitely notice some oddities like the in-flight entertainment system. You also may not be big on the 222 configuration, although I will say that given all of the leisure traffic, it works very well for couples like us. Hawaiian is getting ready to roll out a new Dreamliner product that will have direct access for all business class passengers, but it's been delayed several times now, so you probably won't see it much until a couple of more years. Anyway, I do like the feel of the cabin with the stars on the wall, and the seats are at the very least a unique experience. Upon arriving at our seat, I found a pillow and blanket packaged up nicely. These were pretty much bare minimum sleeping products, with the blanket being pretty thin and the pillow barely registering on the comfort scale. No amenity kits were issued, which seems to be the standard on flights between Hawaii and the Western US. On longer flights though, from say the East Coast to Hawaii, I think you will have a better bedding experience with Hawaiian, so that is something to keep in mind. On the side of your seat, you'll find a USB port along with controls for lighting and a crew member call button. There'll also be a narrow side storage compartment. The seat controls are found above this, which are probably the most simplistic controls you can find. Rotating one way moves it into the lie flat position, and the other way puts the seat in the upright position. This means that you can't get in an ultra tailored position and that you don't have the special features like inflatable cushions or massage functionality, but there is something to be said about the simplicity. As far as other storage goes, it's pretty limited. You'll have space under the seat in front of you to store soft items like bedding and smaller bags, but not much else. There's a mesh pouch on the side of your seat that could hold thin items like documents, and yet another mesh pouch on the side of your footrest. As for counter space, it's essentially zero. You'll be sharing a center console with your fellow passenger, which won't leave you much extra room beyond just functioning as an armrest. The good news is that there is a fairly large privacy divider, so whenever you're in the recline position, you definitely feel a good amount of privacy from the person next to you. Window seat passengers will have to climb over the aisle passenger, but there is a good amount of room, which makes this less difficult than you might think, and I didn't actually have much problem doing this even in the dark. Personally, I like the footstool as it tends to fit my body length perfectly and allows me to get comfortable pretty much instantly. After getting settled in the seat, pre-departure beverages came around and we were served by very pleasant flight attendants. Brad went with the classic Mai Tai and I just settled for some juice. Then it was time for takeoff on a rare rainy morning in Phoenix.
Checking in the boxes to apply any fresh fruits or vegetables, any mongoose, snakes. And if you're seated next to a window, we do kindly ask that you lower your window shade at this time.
Early on in the flight, the crew requested everyone to close their windows. Most of the passengers complied, but some didn't want to give up their views. I didn't really mind that in the beginning, but later on, a single passenger kept their window open, which cast bright light into an otherwise dark cabin, and if you ask me, that's a bit inconsiderate. The seat has a large tray table that pops out with just a little bit of a push, and you'll also be able to pop out a rod for a tablet, but more on that later. One nice thing about the tray table is that it swivels, allowing you to get in and out pretty easily. It's much trickier to do when your tablet is out and you have food and drinks on your tray though. About 10 minutes into the flight, they brought out the tablets and hooked them up to the USB port on the front of the seat, where you can also find a power outlet. Headphones were also issued, although don't expect them to be very high quality. With a decent selection of TV shows and movies, I actually don't mind the tablets, but they do have a couple of shortcomings. One is that when watching a widescreen movie, the picture could be very small and almost comparable to a cell phone. This was especially true because the tablets that they gave us on this flight were smaller than the ones that we've received on previous flights. Second, the rod on my seat was crooked, which meant that my screen was also crooked. So I was able to fix this by sliding some items underneath, but it definitely was a little bit annoying at times. Ultimately, we started off with watching Where the Crawdads Sing. It dragged a little bit in the beginning, but got interesting towards the end. Brad and I actually synced our movies for the first time, and it was kind of cool watching something at the same time on a plane. Soon it was time for dining with a menu that was created by chefs from the MW restaurant located in Honolulu. The breakfast consisted of fresh fruit, a warm croissant, and as for the main dish, it was a ground pork hash patty with sriracha sauce and cage-free scrambled eggs with onions, potatoes, and mushrooms. It was extremely flavorful and one of the better breakfasts I think I've had on a plane. But honestly, the highlight may have been this little Hawaiian shirt that contained the salt and pepper package. Definitely a nice little touch. They later brought out the dessert, which was a different type of coffee cake. I thought coffee cake was basically a pastry meant to be eaten with coffee, but this was more of a mousse that tasted just like coffee. I then finished up the meal with a mug of chamomile tea, which the crew went all out with, offering fresh mint and lemon. I will say that the service level was definitely above average, not quite top tier, but engaging and attentive enough that I thought they did a very solid job. Later on in the flight, it was time to try out the lie flat seat. Like I mentioned before, it's super simple to put down and was pretty responsive. Having the seat in the back corner really felt pretty cozy, so if you want to get some good sleep, it's a good spot to be. And while I appreciated having the blanket to help stay warm, the pillow and blanket offered minimal comfort compared to something like what was offered by JetBlue Mint. Also, I should mention that there were no air nozzle controls or gasper valves on the plane, so you're not able to adjust your temperature at your seat, which really blows if you get hot. After a short and light nap, I woke up with a little bit of extra energy to fill out the optional entry survey for Hawaii. The other side of this form is mandatory, and it relates to bringing in things like agricultural products, and you also want to make sure you fill this out because the flight attendants take it before the flight lands. So forms like this are just another reason why it's always good to travel with a couple of writing pens, because a lot of times the flight attendants don't offer those to you. While filling out the form, I discovered this nifty little reading lamp over my shoulder, and then the crew came around and offered some mid-flight snacks. If you've never tried their pineapple-shaped shortbread cookies, you definitely need to give them a shot. As we started to get closer to Honolulu, I found one more thing to watch, which was a special on Jeremy Lin and all of the Linsanity from about 10 years ago. If you're a basketball fan, you'll enjoy it, and it also goes into some of the issues still facing Asian people today, so it's definitely worth a watch. At about 25 to 30 minutes prior to landing, they took back the tablets, which is a bit of a drawback because at least with a seatback monitor, you can continue to watch things or finish up movies. So instead, I just focused on the amazing views heading into H&L on a pretty beautiful day. Overall, I enjoyed Hawaiian Airlines first class, but every time I fly with them, I have to adjust my expectations, at least for the hard product. Flying as a couple makes this product a lot more bearable and attractive, but it also helps that the crew is nice and personable and that the food can deliver.